Ritika, and welcome back to another episode with Redefined Stories. Yes, that is what we're going to call it from now. And I know it's been too long, but let's get right into it. So, words are not enough to introduce our guest for today. She is just 19 years old. And when I think about her, words like change maker, social entrepreneurship, inspiring, all of these come to mind. She's not just a student, but she's also the founder and the CEO of a nonprofit called Break the Ice. She is a regional officer with the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. She is a receiver of the Harvard Innovation Fellow. She's a poet. She's a founding member of other nonprofits. And to top it all off, she has over 20,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is insane. I remember when I was 19 years old, I did not even have a LinkedIn. So, Palak, hi. Tell me, like, how does it feel to have done so much and have such great things being said about yourself everywhere you go?
I mean, adding on to the anxiety and the nervousness I have in my daily life, the introduction just adds on to that feeling of, I don't know, I am a perfectionist by nature, which is a very bad thing, honestly, not a good thing, not something to brag about. And when I hear people praise me and talk about what all I've done, I just feel like that perfectionism and that wave of, anxiety and being perfect comes into play. I don't know. And I just feel nervous as to I have to prove that I'm still going on with all the work that I'm doing. So yes, not happy with that. But yes, super excited to be here and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, definitely. But then from what you said, I feel like because, you have such an amazing profile, especially on like a social media platform, like, everything is about social media these days. So many people are reading a post on a daily basis. Like, do you think, like, what is one thing you think people mistake about you or about your experiences just looking at your achievements?
I think that'll be the age only, because despite people reading the post, going through the profile, they fail to see the age. And when they see it, they're not only surprised, but they question it, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yes, I am 19. Yes, I'm doing a lot of things. But I mean, it's not about the age at the end of the day. It's about the opportunities you grab. It's about how well you want to do in that field. It's about the passion. So, I mean, very philosophical, age doesn't matter. But yes, many people don't understand the age or mistake me for being at least 25, and I'm like, no, I'm just 19, good, in my field. And yes, that's
Yeah.
something.
But do you think, like, because of your age, people sometimes undervalue what you have been doing or just kind of exaggerate it?
So yes, I do believe that people undervalue me just by knowing that I'm 19. Even if they get to know that later, they're just like, okay, I mean, is she creating that much of impact then, or is she just writing it down? And then I have to clarify, no, wait, I have proof. Honestly, I do have. And then, yeah, so yes, I do feel like people just underestimate you because they feel, oh, you've not even done your bachelor's. And people often estimate your value based on education and your age. So both of those combined, yes, I do believe that
Wow.
there needs to be a shift in that approach.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I haven't experienced that personally. Maybe it's also because I started LinkedIn when I was about 20, like just about like a year and a half ago. So I think you started at a young age, which is why maybe you experienced it firsthand. I've just kind of heard about it, but never actually like experienced it. But like, like since people know so much about you through your profiles, in reality, who would you say Palak Khanna is as a person?
Honestly, I am an introvert, which is very different from what LinkedIn shows you. Because yes, I don't talk to people that much. I just feel like I am an ambivert,
Yeah.
yes, but overall, if I have to describe myself, I will be the quirky person that you see me on my posts as well as here, as well as in real life. But a stark difference would be I don't talk that much. I don't talk the way I write, basically. I'm
Wow.
way too introvert. And when you approach me, definitely I'll be like all friendly and everything. But
But
yes,
you're not kind of
big
the person to
introvert.
take the first step in a way.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Now tell me, like, what according to you would say is your greatest achievement?
Okay, I'm not sure. There's so many. I just feel like I am grateful for a lot of achievements, but the biggest one, maybe that's where the journey started. I feel like when I was invited as a mentor and a coach for Business Blasters, so Business Blasters was a Government of Delhi initiative. I was invited for that, and I'll tell you the backstory. So, I got a call. We applied through a website, and I got a call, and I was like, maybe this is fraud. Why are they inviting me? I'm like way too young for this, because I was literally called to be a mentor for children my age. I was mentoring 18-year-olds and I was 18. And I was like, no, wait, this is a big fraud. I don't agree to this. Because I just panicked basically, and not in a good way. I was like, do I
Yeah.
have to like accept it? Because they invited me. And then just, fast forward to today, I just feel like, thank goodness I took the opportunity, because I not only mentored them, I actually was invited as a panelist also. And I was the youngest amongst everyone.
Oh,
Everyone was
wow.
like 55, 60, 65, and I was there like at 18. And then I learned so much from them. And it was a brilliant experience. And I just feel like a very random yet the biggest achievement.
Yeah, no, that actually sounds amazing. Like being the youngest on board, I think, like, see, I think sometimes age does play a role in that way, whereby, like, because you are also so much younger than the other people on the board, it kind of also heightens your achievement in a certain way, because I think it is commendable for you to do such great things at such a young age. So I feel like that age factor works in both advantage and disadvantage, depending upon the situation. So I think it's like a give and take with everything. But then now I'm kind of also wondering is like, because like everyone, like, through social media, people just imagine this one person as being very confident, being out there, having no flaws in themselves, this and that. So I would want to ask you directly, what is something you are insecure about? How do you deal with it? And what is something that works in dealing with it?
Okay. So like I mentioned initially, I think about perfectionism. I have an issue with that. I just feel like I need to have everything perfect, which is again has its own pros and cons. And many people,
Yeah.
when they perceive it from the outside, they're like, oh, that's such a great thing. Maybe people feel like they're just she's just lying about it. She's not a
Yeah.
perfectionism. It's just a tag. But at the end of the day, if you talk to people close to me, not just family, friends, you will notice them saying that I try to have everything absolutely perfect. It has to be 100 every time. And whether it was exams, whether it was content, whether it was
Yeah.
any other achievement of mine, any other initiative of mine, I just wanted to be perfect. And it acts as a barrier a lot of times. And it affects me mentally also, because
Yeah.
obviously everything cannot be perfect at every single
Exactly.
moment. And
Yeah.
then I just overburden myself. But I'm trying to just calm down with that. Basically, obviously, the perfectionism wouldn't go as such. It's a very big part of my personality. But I just feel like I try to have my own sweet time understanding where I went wrong with a thing rather than just blaming myself for it. So
Yeah.
initially, I used to just get angry about it, blame myself for it, cry. Now I've understood that maybe it will not go 100, maybe it'll be a
Yeah.
90, but I have to appreciate that as well. So I think I've overcome it by understanding myself and by gratitude.
Okay. And would you say that retrospection and reflection kind of also helps in that process? Because I feel like I've actually also been through that phase. I wouldn't say I was a perfectionist, but like you're still someone who wants something to be done. Okay, maybe a perfectionist. Now that I think about it. But it's like, I feel like my mom was the one who early on made me realize that it's actually a very big deterrent than an advantage. So I don't know why people think it's a good thing. Maybe because your product that you do deliver is 100% up to the notch. So maybe it's a good thing for your employer or someone you're working with. But I think it's not a good thing for you mentally, because even if something that you put 100% to does not do well, then it has grave consequences for your mental well-being, and I think that blame aspect is something I think everyone deals with, and being a perfectionist just makes that even worse. So I feel like, yeah, that's definitely, I feel like something that people should be mindful of, because I think a lot of people experience this, and I hope people are taking this away from watching you talk about this, that you know even every person is not perfect. Every person, no matter where they are in life, how many followers they have, this and that, they all are experiencing something which they're dealing with in their own sweet time. So I think that is most important. Okay, let's kind of switch gears now a little bit. It's become too serious, the mood. So like, let me just kind of ask you about break the ice. How did it kind of start? You being a student, you already being involved, having assignments, exams, already being involved with so many nonprofits. How did you start your own?
So again, very small story, but like a defining moment for Break the Ice, and for me as well as an individual, I feel. So basically, from the time that I was 10, I always wanted to create change. I've said this in so many places, and it sounds so philosophical, but honestly, that was a sentence I've used with my mom when she used to say, "What do you want to become when you grow up?" I was like, I want to create change. I don't know what I want to do. I want
Yeah.
to create change. I want to create a better society, because society was flawed in its own ways. It still is
Yeah.
in various ways. So, but I never knew what I have to do. I was just clueless about the change and the direction
Yeah.
of change, basically. And initially, it was about the environment. I went for protests. I became a part of my environment coming to school. Gradually, exams came, left all of it, just focused on studies. I was a big nerd, and the perfectionist that I was, I had to study to get good marks. I have my pressure on myself. People say
Yeah.
their family pressurizes them. People say, other external forces. I just have it internally in me, which is again good and bad.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, one fine day, I just overheard this small conversation between my mom and my domestic help. She had had her periods at our place, and she was just shying away from the conversation. She was like, basically she was asking for pads, but she was not saying it out loud. And after the conversation, I told my mom, mom, it's the 21st century. What are we even doing right now? I
Yeah.
mean, this is the most natural process. Can we just get over the stigma? And this was a very triggered moment for me. I was just like very angry that why is this happening in our house? I mean, we are
Yeah.
supposed to create the change in our own space, And I was discussing with my mom, and my mom said, you know what? If you're passionate about it, just do something about it. And midnight that same day, I had the idea, why not create a platform which just talks about things which are not talked about? So that's where Brain Eyes came into the picture. And and here we are.
Yeah, damn, that is amazing. I feel like with a lot of people, I think a lot of the stories that start from home are what kind of motivate you or trigger you in a way to kind of start certain initiatives. I feel like that is definitely something I've seen a lot in India, at least. And I think that's why it's so important. And that's why you're also seeing so many, like, menstrual equity drives also starting in India, which I think is amazing. Like that day also, I met someone with the nonprofit. Her name's Niyati Sharma. Like she also has a nonprofit. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but like they work on sex ed also, which I think is very related to menstrual cycles. And I feel like it's something which is not spoken about at all. Or even if it is, it's very stigmatized to even say that word out in public, and people don't say it. People will either like whisper it to you or write it down instead of saying it. So I feel like it's so important the work you're doing, because I think especially like places, not just India, honestly, like I feel like anywhere there are certain words that are stigmatized, and I feel like you're doing a great job with whatever you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, but like now, since we're talking about you being a founder, what would you say has been the hardest part about being a founder?
Okay, so I think the journey in itself, honestly, I mean, every process of being a founder is very difficult, and that too a young founder, plus talking about stigmatized topics, all of it just adds on to my
Yeah.
journey. Because even when I was creating posters about the release of the organization or the idea to my friends, I was just concerned as to what their opinions would be.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're talking about sensitive topics, whether
Yeah.
it's mental health, whether it's depression, anxiety, LGBTQ,
Yeah.
bullying, gender equality, all of it is just way too stigmatized to just initiate a conversation about it. But that was the basic idea, right? So yeah, I feel like even beginning with it was a difficult thing. Obviously, the trigger led to it being impulsively created. But
Yeah.
once I created it and I was creating the posts and everything, I was like, okay, this is getting real. And even creating teams was very difficult because I feel like I am 80% an introvert. So
Yeah.
just discussing and delegating tasks is a very big task for me myself. It's a big task to
Yeah.
delegate tasks. So yes, I feel like creating a team, initiating the conversations, all of it was tough. But at the end of the day, it was just support and like-minded people who supported it that has created that change already.
Yeah. No, definitely. What would you say is your formula to success?
Okay. I haven't thought about this question. I just feel like connecting with the right people would be the formula. And
Yeah.
a lot of people talk about networking, a lot of people talk about like-minded people, and a lot of people talk about good teams.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to finding the right people, connecting with them, and hitting that right spot. So I feel like that would be the formula to success, just understanding who to connect to and then valuing that connection so that
Yeah.
it's not just a network that you can reach out to, but a
Yeah.
network you can even talk to.
Amazing. What would you say is the worst advice you've ever gotten?
I don't know about this. I just feel like sometimes people say don't talk about taboo topics, which is an advice in itself, but
Yeah.
the worst one
Yeah.
because again, it's just promoting something very incorrect.
Yeah.
Because you have to get over that mindset. Because at the end of the day, I say this to everyone:
Yeah.
all taboo topics are important topics, which are just
Exactly.
pushed under this carpet of ignorance. Simply let's not talk about it and get over
Yeah.
it.
No,
So
definitely.
that's the
Yeah.
worst advice.
How would you say your LinkedIn journey started? I think that is an important part of your life, which I think needs to be spoken about, because that is, I think, given you also an incredible platform to talk about your experiences, to talk about, break the ice and everything you're doing. So how did that kind of start?
So started around 8 months, 7, 8 months back.
Okay.
And it just happened that I wanted to write. So I love writing. And I thought, why not, not just write on paper, but also through the screen. That was the idea.
Yeah.
And I thought that writing blogs is a good way to start. And randomly, I just thought, let's scroll through LinkedIn. I had LinkedIn, I never used it. I mean, consistency is way not my thing at that point of time. I was just like, okay, scrolling through it, have an account, needed after a few years for jobs. That was the idea. But I just started writing content on it, and I realized that I am creating a network of my own and getting responses. I won't say positive responses, you get both kinds, but I'm happy with that. At the end of the day, you are getting a
A
response.
response, yeah.
Even if value you so much that they are giving you criticism, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
So that was the driving factor. I just thought, okay, I'm getting responses, I'm reaching out to people, and then gradually it became like a safe space for many people. I get so many messages just saying that we relate to the content, and I'm just like, that is the biggest compliment for me, because this did not start the way it is currently. I did not expect it to be this. So yes.
What would you say is your strategy for LinkedIn?
For LinkedIn, I just feel like for every person out there, the strategy would have two things: your personal experiences and linking it to something relatable. So for me also, that is the strategy. Not exactly a strategy, honestly, but it's just the way you present it to have that humanly connection with another person. Because at the end of the day, you don't just write to write. You write to connect with someone, right? And how will you connect to them? I mean, if I talk about myself, nobody would. If I talk to you about just myself, I'm Palak, I'm doing this, I'm 19, I'm from New Delhi. Most of the times, after 2 minutes, you'll zone out from the conversation. And through a screen, you won't even read it for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So you have to have something which is relatable. So if there is one strategy, it would be relatability, but connecting it to real life experiences. I always just write. I write about everything in life that has happened to me, but that has happened to me, not something just made up. So always personal experience plus relatability.
Yeah, I think that's something even I'm learning from all the different LinkedIn creators, because I feel like recently on LinkedIn, this amazing thing is going on where people are talking a lot about the realities of things, So I feel like it's just incredible to see a platform which is now creating that positive space for people to talk about everything. And I think inspired by individuals like yourself is like, I started those hashtags also, like reality with Ritika, reality chats with Ritika, because I think it's so important to talk about these things, because I don't think they were talking about before, but now you're seeing that shift in LinkedIn, which I think is incredible. Okay, then moving on to the next, how would you say your perception of LinkedIn has changed from when you initially started to now?
So, like I mentioned earlier, it was the job platform, which everyone actually considers it to be. And I never realized that it can be a content creating platform, because I never associated it with content, with relatability. It was more of something I need over the years if I move abroad. Even if I'm in India, if I want to connect with essential people, it would be through LinkedIn. So it was something which was just kept in my folder, in my app folder for a few years later, down the lane. And now it has become, and now that I see LinkedIn, and like you mentioned, it has become more of reality, basically. And it's one of those platforms that, not just because I am active on LinkedIn that I'm saying this, but I just feel like across platforms, Snapchat, Instagram, for that matter, Twitter also, people tend to show themselves as too perfect, honestly. You would find very rare reflection, real stories, especially on Instagram, if I should say that. Right? It's more of a showing your life as perfect kind of a thing. And which is not bad. It becomes toxic, obviously. That goes for every social media platform. But LinkedIn has become that place where I can talk about real stuff. I can feel that other people talk about real stuff. So it's become that connection kind of thing. So gradually grown from just a job seeking corner of the app folder app to a very, very important app for me, not just for content, but also for finding myself and just connecting with real people in the real space that we live in.
Yeah, no, definitely. And now that, you are working in so many places in a way, you're doing so many things. How do you make sure you stay motivated? Because I know it can get tough sometimes.
So I'm overly ambitious. Again, good and bad both. overly. Like
Yeah.
I know myself that well that I can say that, because when I tell people my ambition is to, I don't know, it's monetary plus, just life in general. So yeah, when I tell people, they're like, okay, you're way too ambitious. And I'm like, I agree. And I'm happy with that fact until I'm able to stay motivated for it. So the motivation
Yeah.
is the life goal of being not only successful, not only happy. I won't go very philosophical with, I don't want money, I want a happy life. No, I feel like money plays a very important
Yeah.
role in not happiness, but in a quality of life. And
Yeah.
that quality of life gives you in happiness, right?
That's true.
If
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So what I want to do in life is be very successful, yet be grounded. That is the goal. And that keeps me motivated. I'm like, okay, how can I earn money? How can I stay grounded? This is working out for me. Let's just try this. Keep going with it. And the motivation is also my mom. Very cliche answer. She's usually the one who every day just tells me, have you done this? Have you done this?
Yeah.
In a very positive way, not in a
Yeah.
forcible manner. She's just like, do this, take rest, again, go back to it. You are
Yeah.
doing well on it, keep consistent. So,
Yeah.
yes, both the things, life goal as well as mom.
Okay. How would you define your ambition? Like in specific terms. I'm sure like a person like yourself, because even I have a very defined way on which I want to define success, you know? So how would you define your ambition?
um, being one of the biggest CEOs of the world
Okay.
in a
Yes.
company which is doing very well in terms of not just products or services they're providing, but in terms of social impact,
Yeah.
which was the idea through Big
Yeah.
Days. Um, Along with that, I have this very silly ambition. I'm mentioning it here. I don't know why. I have to buy this 60 crore car. I have it
Yes.
in my mind. I know the money is maddening to just listen to. And
Yeah.
I know it's a very, very monetary and very, very materialistic, but I
But
just
I
feel like
think
I
it's
have this.
completely okay. It's completely okay. If that's what drives you, you do you, you know? So
I love cars. And I just saw this one car. I read the price and I was like, damn, that's crazy. 60
which
crores
one
for a
is it?
car. I don't know the name. I just have that
Wow.
picture on
You
my
should know the
wallpaper.
name. You should at least write down the name that, okay, this is what I want to buy in the
I
future.
have it on my wallpaper and I'm just like, I will drive this one day. I'll work so hard for it that I get it in like casually, just that's my aim. I want to
Yeah.
be very successful, lead a very, very happy life, which I know will not be possible all of the times. Again, perfectionism coming into
Yeah.
play, but I just feel like 85% of the life should be good. I should be happy living that life.
Yeah.
And I have to have that 60 crore car. I have to. So that's the goal.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now we're going to do this rapid session. I'm going to throw 5 questions at you. Each you have to answer under 1 minute. Got it?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, the first one is how do you identify right opportunities?
Through platforms like LinkedIn, through the right people, and through just reaching out to even college officials. Those are
Okay.
the people who are the right people to get opportunities. And once you get them, don't just doubt yourself like I was doing for the business masters program. Go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's what my second follow-up question was. What is your go-to strategy when you come across those opportunities?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, I'll just once clarify that it is official before I just get into a fraud or something like that. But after that, I just go all in.
Okay, perfect. What is the false perception you think people have about you? It's a little bit different from what we initially asked, but yeah.
Okay. I think we already talked about this that I'm doing too much and I'm too perfect, which is not the case. I mean, obviously people don't tell me on my face, but I feel like the way people perceive me is, oh wow, she's so
Yeah.
great, she's doing so much. But no, there is, and at the end of the day, I'm still human. And I have those humanly qualities which you'll figure out once you meet me or just virtually interact with me.
Yeah. If we are to meet again after 5 years, where would you want Palak Khanna to be?
Hopefully successful CEO, living happily, 60 crore car. That's the 5 year goal. I don't want to extend it to 10 years because I just feel like then the motivation goes away. Then I feel like, oh, I have 10 years, so
Yeah.
5 years.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received. That's a good question. I heard this quote from one of my mentors. I don't remember the exact quote. It said, when you think that you can't change the world, remember that you can change the world for one person. So that's my motivation factor as well. And I just feel like that's the best advice in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so much. That is all for today. This was so amazing. I really appreciate you coming on board. And yeah, hopefully we can chat soon as well.
Thank you so much for having me.